didn't. He chickened out, bravely taking
I never did.
He beat a very brave retreat.
Oh, lie.
Bravest of the brave, Sir
I
Robin.
never.
Morning, everyone. So, yes, the Tory rebellion completely melted away. I didn't expect it to melt away quite so embarrassingly, I have to say. It really was. I'd said after the vote before Christmas, because it's not just the fact that it passed before Christmas, it's the fact that you had people like Mark Francois, Danny Kruger, the leaders of the far right. Like Danny Kruger of the New Conservatives was urging MPs to actively sink the bill. Mark Francois wasn't of the ERG. He was saying, well, we should just abstain and make it close. Send a warning that he can't, that he can't get it through without amendments. And then in the end, he won it handsomely. So in a sense, they had to do the proving that there was a real rebellion here. And ultimately there wasn't. There's some particularly embarrassing episodes to have emerged from it. Lee Anderson must take the biscuit, even though Therese Coffey comes close. Lee Anderson, remember, Lee Anderson and Brendan Clark-Smith, both of them resigned their positions as deputy chair of the Conservative Party in order to support the amendments. So Lee Anderson last night abstained, and you think, well, why didn't he vote against it? Well, he told GB News last night, and this is actually a bit disgraceful thinking about it. So Lee Anderson now will only talk to GB News. He's contractually obligated, I gather, to not talk to any other news media outlets because, they employ him. So anyway, he's been interviewed by GB News last night. And he says he actually was going to vote no. He was going to vote against it. But get this, some Labour MPs were laughing and giggling at him. So he left. So he ended up abstaining. Basically, Lee Anderson reckons he's a hard man. Yeah. Oh, come on then. And he admitted to camera that he was going to he was in the no lobby. He was going to vote no. And then because Labour MPs sniggered at him, he ran away to cry in a corner. Like, that is a gift straight away. Whoever his opponent is in Ashfield, and Labour have selected his challenger, I believe. I'm not sure who it is. But whoever that challenger is, what they should, when there's the hustings, so what they're doing, a general election campaign, there's hustings where the various candidates answer questions of the public. The second Lee Anderson says, oh, I would support this or I would oppose this, his Labour challenger should say, unless someone sniggers at you, in which case you'll run away from the lobby and cry in a corner. That is what people should say every single time he tries to say what he would support or oppose as an MP. Every single time they should say, oh, unless someone sniggers at you, we'll just snigger at you and go run away crying to mommy. Absolutely ridiculous. I have to mention the Therese Coffey thing, though, because that was next level as well. So obviously there's various debates, and as you'd expect, James Cleverly makes a speech. He's the Home Secretary. He's the one who's promoting the bill. Yvette Cooper for Labour also makes a speech attacking the bill. And Therese Coffey stands up and she says all sorts of shit, but she does say she was surprised to hear Yvette Cooper, basically the shadow Home Secretary, talking. She can't even get the country right. She's talking about this Kigali. It's Rwanda, you silly girl. And you can just imagine everyone in the chamber going, idiot, Kigali is the capital of Rwanda, you cretin. And you think, Therese Coffey she's got a PhD. Behind those dead, soulless eyes of hers, there's a brain, right? Or there was at one time in her life. This is one of their leading lights. She's been a cabinet secretary for years, senior member of the government for years. She isn't anymore, but she has been for years. So she's one of the Conservatives' leading lights. That's the level. And this is why, ultimately, this rebellion failed. Because, I mean, I focus a lot on the fact that Rishi Sunak is strategically inept, and he's definitely politically inept. Really, he can't do the simplest thing. But the far right, what last night showed is the far right are completely scattered. Because going back to last year, you know, when they had the vote, and you know, the far right leaders were saying we need to make this a close vote so that we can show Sunak we mean business. And then Sunak won it easily. Like the rest of the far right MPs basically said, yeah, we're not messing about here. And they were trying to say, oh, it's because he said he's going to take amendments seriously, so we'll take him at his word. And then Rishi Sunak this week says, yeah, those amendments I said I was going to take seriously. Yeah, we're not amending it. Yeah, we're not doing that. And so what did they do? Oh, you rotter. Right, well, we're going to vote against your bill. No, they didn't even abstain. The vast majority voted for it, right? Let's just look at the voting figures here. In terms of members voting no, 11 Conservatives, 11 in total, right? In terms of those who abstained, where are we? Conservatives, 18. So that's 29 Conservative MPs who either abstained or voted against it. 29. 65, I think I'm right in saying, supported the amendment. If I was to have a look, where was Robert Jenrick's amendment? 65 supported. They may not have all been Conservative MPs, actually, to be fair. Hold on, I better just check on this. 59 Conservative MPs plus 2 tellers, Miriam Cates and Jacob Rees-Mogg. The rest were independents and the DUP, sorry. So, okay, 61 Tory MPs voted for one of the amendments, at least. I think the one that was selected. And 29 of them either abstained or voted against. And some of those were not on the far right. Some of them were just abstentions for other reasons. You know, so we've got like Theresa May in there, for example. You've got Ben Wallace, I think, was in there. Yeah, he's in there. So you've got a few in there who are not on the right as well. So you had what I'm saying is most of the rebels, like more than 50% of the rebels, voted for the unamended bill. Basically, there is no rebellion. We talk about the far right now. It's leaderless, it's rudderless, it doesn't exist. And the most crushing clip, I saw lots of clips last night of various Tory MPs that are all as thick as mince. I had to listen to Nick Fletcher, who, if he won his seat in the next election, would be my MP. He's not at the moment, boundary changes. He's not going to win. He better not win. Man's as thick as a whale omelette. But the most telling clip for me was actually from someone from the BBC, political editor for the BBC, Nicholas Watts, not Laura Kunsberg. And he said that over the last few days, various leaders on the far right, or what he would call the right of the Conservative Party, were pulling him to one side and going, oh, we are going to show you something. The momentum's with us. You know, they were really geeing up this idea that Rishi Sunak, if he didn't back down on these amendments, was going to face defeat. You know, that was going to be it. The far right were going to take charge, right? That's what they were all being told. And then he said after the vote, they won't even catch his eye. So he's obviously gone round to try and talk to some of these people, and they're avoiding him. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that those leaders, like the likes of Mark Francois, walking around, cock of the walk, they genuinely believed that this was it this time. They were going to bring Sunak down, and it didn't happen. So basically, these leaders of the far right, let's go through them. The ones who voted no: Suella Braverman, Bill Cash, Miriam Cates, Simon Clarke. In terms of the leaders, Robert Jenrick tries to be a leader, but he's not. Andrea Jenkins, I mean, she thinks she's a leader. She's not. She's crazy. She's considered crazy even by the crazies. Mark Francois, Danny Kruger, right? These are some of the main leaders of the far right. Suella Braverman, Bill Cash, Miriam Cates, Simon Clarke, Mark Francois, Danny Kruger, right? They all voted against it. The vast majority of them voted for it, right? Including Priti Patel. Priti Patel voted for it. I'm going to check if Liz Truss did. That'd be hilarious. Let me find it. Yes, Liz Truss voted for it as well. So even like the leaders of the 5 families, the so-called, you know, the 5 major groups on the far right, they couldn't even agree. Even the leaders couldn't even agree amongst themselves, because 2 of them voted for it and several of them voted against it. 5 Manson families, yeah. The Haunted Pencil was getting very flustered. Well, here's the situation. So you'll be probably referring to Victoria Derbyshire, who Tory knew won last night, because she was pointing out, look, because this is the problem they found themselves in now, the far right. They had no exit plan. They committed themselves to an obviously doomed strategy and then had nowhere to run, right? They all insisted that the bill cannot work without these amendments. Now, what they should have done is to say, look, the bill, yeah, okay, but we think there are some loopholes that could cause problems. These amendments will fix the loopholes. That's what they should have done, because then when the amendments are voted down, as they were always going to, the fact that the amendments were voted down was not at all a surprise. There's lots of surprising things happened this week. That is not one of them. It was obvious they were going to be voted down from the start, from before Christmas. So given that, that's what they should have done. They should have said, okay, so, so that way today they'd be able to say, look, we voted for the bill because we approve of the bill. We just worry about these loopholes now, but we'll see how it works out. Whereas now, because they said the bill cannot work without the amendments, like they were really explicit about that. They publicly and noisily said this bill cannot work without the amendments. This bill does nothing. Actually makes things worse, because it just invites more court cases, more legal struggles, and so on. So now that the amendments have been binned, now they're voting for the bill. They're basically voting for a bill that they said 24 hours before makes things worse. That's an utterly ridiculous position to be in. Utterly ridiculous. So then you think to yourself, so why? Because now they look like proper Charlies. In fact, you know how stupid they look? They look like Rishi Sunak has faced them down, because that's what it looks like. In fact, there may even be some front pages. We should look at some front pages today. We're not going to look at them. I'm going to read them out to you. So in The Guardian, Sunak's Rwanda Bill survives as Tory revolt melts away for now. There's no for now about it. They don't. It's quite obvious the leaders of the far right do not have the respect of the MPs on the far right. That's obvious now. The Times, Rwanda revolt withers away. The Eye. Oh no, that's about the postmasters again. The Sun. Oh no, the Sun don't want to talk about it. The Metro, they're not interested. The Daily Star's not interested. The Mirror, they're not bothered either. It's all royal news. What's going on? Daily Express, Rishi wins the day as rebellion melts away. So that's the sort of thing I was looking for in the Tory press. So, in the Express, they're saying, look, it's that Rishi Sunak has faced them down. Now, that's not actually what's happened. What's happened is those leaders of the far right genuinely thought they were going to defeat the bill, and the other ones at least thought they could get their amendment through. And what's happened is now they've thought, right, so what happens if you defeat the bill? First of all, either it's a general election or you replace Rishi Sunak. Now, in theory, people were saying, oh, but it's not actually a confidence vote. It's not like taken as a confidence vote. In theory, of course, a government can lose a vote and carry on. I mean, all governments, Conservative and Labour governments, prime ministers have lost votes and gone on to win the following election. It happens. It's not that a government losing a vote definitely means that government's brought down. That's not true at all. However, this is their main policy. This is their main policy. That, like, what is there? Think about it this, like, if people are saying to Rishi Sunak, why aren't you calling a general election? Oh, by the way, he's given a press conference today. He's not calling a general election. That we know what he's going to say in that press conference. He's going to say, he's basically going to threaten the House of Lords. He's going to say to the House of Lords, oh, this is the will of the people. You shouldn't interfere. It's not the will of the people. There's no mandate for it. It was a policy made up in 2022. It's never been in the manifesto. Nothing like it's ever been in the manifesto either. But the so they don't want a general election. But and as I say, I'm not train of thought. They have nothing. If you say to Rishi Sunak, why aren't you calling a general election? He will say, oh, because we've still got lots of things to do, you know? So then you say, so what? This is what he says. That's all he's got. We need to stop the boats. We need to get this Rwanda plan through and stop the boats. That's what, if you remove that, if the Tories have sunk it, ask Rishi Sunak what he's got to do. Why aren't you calling a general election? What's he got to do? What? He can talk about, oh, these tax cuts. Well, you're announcing the budget in the first week of March, like really early. Then it's done, isn't it? You can call an election straight after the budget, can't you? Because, which he might do anyway. Like, what can Rishi Sunak say is, if he doesn't have the Rwanda bill, what can he say he's still got to do before the election? It's nothing. There's nothing they're doing. There's nothing. They haven't got any other policies. This is it. So there would have to be a snap general election, or you replace Sunak. And it's really obvious. First of all, the far right do not want a general election right now. People have mentioned in the chat, right? No sooner had the vote come out, the latest YouGov results came out, right? Let me go through this for you. Where is it? It's Labour on 47, the Conservatives on 20. This is YouGov. Lib Dems 8, Reform UK on 12. Reform gaining 4 points there. Now, yes, I do keep saying I think YouGov inflate reforms show the vote, but I will still also say this. This is what the Rwanda plan has done to the Conservatives. They've made themselves look weak. What has happened now this week? What has happened? You've got all of these Tory MPs on the far right saying the Rwanda bill cannot work without these amendments. The Tory MPs have dismissed these amendments. So as far as the sort of voters that Rishi Sunak's trying to chase with the Rwanda plan are concerned, the ones who attempted to vote for Reform UK, they see the Conservative Party now pursuing a bill that cannot work. Because the fact of the matter is, for these voters, way more of these people trust the likes of Lee Anderson and Nigel Farage and Jacob Rees-Mogg than trust Rishi Sunak. So the Conservatives are now in a right mess because they've abandoned the centre. They've completely abandoned the centre ground, and they're trying to chase after voters, but with a sort of anti-asylum light policy. You know, they're trying to be like Reform UK, but not as mad. Well, these people want the mad, right? So, and I put just for now, these results are, I put these results through the MRP predictor, right? If those results were to actually transpire in a general election, this is without taking tactical voting into account. Do you know what it would do? And this is what Conservative MPs are waking up to this morning. It would put the Conservatives on 41 seats. That is what that poll last night says, 41 seats. And you know, there'll be Tory MPs who can go, oh, no, we don't like that poll. But that is what they've got to face up to today. And that is without tactical voting. And I can say, and I will say, and I fundamentally don't believe that the Tories are actually even going to be beaten down into double figures. But at the same time, people will keep mentioning the Canadian election in 1993, where the ruling Conservative Party were beaten down to 2 seats. They lost almost all of their seats in one election. And it seems incredible, like, because it's outside of our living experience in this country, it seems incredible this could possibly happen to the Conservatives. But at the same time, it's, you know, you look at the situation, the Conservatives, like people, like Stephen Flynn said in Prime Minister's Questions yesterday, does Rishi Sunak understand how angry people are? It's not just people in Scotland. There is a real sense of genuine anger amongst a lot of voters, including a significant number of 2019 Conservative voters. They were promised levelling up. They were promised a better standard of living. They were promised lots of things. They gave the Conservatives their trust. They voted for Brexit. They voted them a majority in 2019. You know, they gave the Conservatives everything they asked for, everything. And in return, they've received nothing. They've been swindled. And there is real anger. 41 seats is 42 too many. But it is, we should aim for 0 seats. Well, of course, we should aim for 0 seats. I mean, this is the beauty of tactical voting. With tactical voting, there is no such thing as a safe seat. With tactical voting, if you can persuade people of the power of tactical voting, the Conservatives could be beaten down to no seats. We know realistically they won't, because we will not be able to convince enough people that tactical voting can really help, unfortunately. But we must convince as many as possible, because in fact, Graham's linked the stopthetories.vote website there, which was also plugged on James O'Brien yesterday, along with someone else. I forget who it was. But there'll be more seats on the bus. Well, more to the point, this MRP model, it doesn't, you'd think to yourself, oh, 41 seats, so the Lib Dems would be in second place. Actually, no, it puts the Lib Dems still in third place. But with tactical voting, yes, that could put the Lib Dems in second place. Can you imagine? And this is the prize. This is like, there's lots of arguments I can have for tactical voting, right? But the biggest prize of all is it is possible. It's challenging, but it is possible. If we can really get people on board with tactical voting at this election, it's possible for the Conservatives to, never mind not, be on the opposition benches. They don't even get to sit across from Labour. They will have to sit behind the Lib Dems and maybe the SNP. Imagine that, if they have to sit next to the DUP. If there's so few of them, they have to sit next to the DUP. With each of them goes, it's all your fault, I should phone into James O'Brien to capitalise. Yeah, I'm not very good at self-promotion. And also, I think that would be a bit of a waste. I did once try and phone into James O'Brien about a particular issue that I wanted to say something, and didn't end up getting through in the end. But my general attitude is there are lots of people want to call into James O'Brien and they want to have their say. And at the end of the day, I don't, I have my say. I have my own platform to have my own say. I don't have to deprive others of that. And I'm certainly not going to do it just for a bit of shameless self-promotion. Starmer could win a 350-seat majority and the Tories will still say, well, what about Beergate? Well, worse than that, because this particular one has Labour on a 410 majority, which is actually really bad for democracy. That should be really bad for democracy. But that's not a reason not to do it. Because again, one of the tactical voting questions that sometimes people ask is, well, if Labour are on for this big majority anyway, then they don't need my tactical vote. Like, why should I tactically vote for Labour? Wouldn't it be really bad if Labour win more MPs? But my response to that is, yeah, but what you're saying is you think there should be more Tory MPs. Because it's not like if you don't give Labour your tactical vote in the right seats, obviously it depends on the seat. But in where the Labour is the tactical vote, if you don't use that vote, they're not running against the Lib Dems or the SNP or anyone else. They're running against the Tories. Because the idea of tactical voting is it's not a pro-Labour tactical vote, it's an anti-Tory tactical vote. So if you don't like the Tories and you don't vote tactically, it's like you're saying, we don't want there to only be a few Tory MPs. We want more Tory MPs. No. And if it means that Labour get over 500 MPs for the sake of there being no Tory MPs, so be it. So be it. How would the media react to the Tories being wiped out? It would be hilarious to find out, wouldn't it? I actually honestly don't know. It'd be interesting to know how the right-wing media in Canada reacted in 1993, because I don't know. I don't really pay a great deal of attention. How are my stats? Is there an uptick? I mean, I won't be able to tell instantly. I do know I had an uptick in people following me on Twitter, bizarrely. I don't have that many followers on Twitter. It's very difficult to say because the analytics is usually a little bit behind. So I won't be able to tell what yesterday's stats are for a while. But I didn't notice my video. My video's got about what I would have expected given the topics I was doing it on. So, you know, the thing is, the way I look at it is it's very nice of people to promote me on things, but like YouTube is a particular platform, right? If people watch YouTube and hadn't come across me, then sure, they might check me out. But you're not, I don't think you're going to get people who don't watch YouTube suddenly watching YouTube because someone mentioned someone on YouTube on a different medium, like radio, and a completely different medium. But there we go. Captain Bart Roberts, are we going to live stream the presser? So that'll be a question for Graham. He may or may not. I promise you, what Rishi Sunak is going to do in this I can tell you what he's going to say in this press conference. He's going to say, we're getting on with delivering the will of the people. The House of Commons has now voted, the elected House of Commons, he'll probably say, has now voted in favour of my Rwanda plan. We're going ahead with it. We're going to get flights in the air. And we don't think the unelected House of Lords should interfere with it. That is going to be the gist of his press conference. I guarantee it's not going to be to call an election. Absolutely not. But there we go. The Sun would have to pretend to be nice for a bit. Instead, I mean, what would you do? See, the other thing to remember about if Labour, again, for the tactical voting argument. So if Labour did get a silly number of MPs, think about it this way. You would end up with a load of new Labour MPs, lots of them, who owe their seat to tactical voting. So, and this is the importance of joining groups that are like Movement Forward that are campaigning for tactical voting for the purposes of driving proportional representation. Because what you can do if you're part of this group, you can say to all those Labour MPs, you won your seat because we voted for you and we don't really want to vote Labour, but we did. Now, if you want us to vote for you again, we want electoral reform. So if you want another term in office, if you want our vote at the next election, we want to see proportional representation in the manifesto. That is the power of tactical voting. You know, think about all the red wall. This will be my last part. Think about the red wall Tory MPs like brave Leanderthal, right? Why are they all losing their seats? Because they promised their constituents that these are places that traditionally don't vote Conservative. Then they did. Why? They were promised levelling up. They weren't promised to stop the boats. No one was talking about the boats then. They were promised levelling up, right? These red wall Tory MPs are all losing their seats and all crying about it because they didn't deliver that. The people said to them, we're lending you our vote for levelling up, to get investment coming into here, to get us better jobs, to raise our standard of living. And they did not deliver it. So you have a load of Labour MPs, we might call them blue wall Labour MPs. You have a load of these Labour MPs. If voters say to them, you are an MP because we want you to deliver electoral reform, if they want to win their seat at the next election, that is what they have to deliver. That is the power of tactical voting. Because there is already, I promise you, a huge amount of support for PR in Labour. It's just there's just a couple of little obstacles need overcoming. And if you've got 200 Labour MPs all thinking, right, for me to have a chance of winning my seat again, I need to get electoral reform going, that is really powerful. So that again is another power of tactically voting for Labour. But there you go. Anyway, there's my pitch for that one. We will have to see how this proceeds. But what I would say at the moment, if anyone even tries to hint that there's a Tory rebellion in the air, I'm just going to scoff. I'm just going to say, oh, yeah, like the last time, because I think it's gone now. They have no leadership. The far right are scattered and divided and now looking very, very stupid. But there we are anyway. Don't forget to click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I've put a couple of interesting links in the description below, including Lee Anderson making himself look particularly stupid. But thanks for coming on, everyone. Have a great day. And until next time, I'll see you later.